Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. In today's video, we're going to go over the water system in this van, show you how I put it together, where the lines are plumbed, and then what components we're using. And then halfway through this, we're going to actually cut to the GoPro, and I'm going to take you through each one of the cold water lines as well as hot water lines, show you how I routed them, why I routed them in those certain paths, some challenges that we had with this really tight space that we're working with, and then in between that there'll be a breakout to where I actually go and talk about the tools that you're going to need to do this install. So I'll actually show you how to cut and join a couple of the PEX A or Uponor fittings. We have this tool right here, and this will all be explained a little bit later on in the video. But let's go ahead and talk about just kind of like a high-level overview of what we have here. So we got a 2020 mid-roof Ford Transit van. We have a 20-gallon over-the-wheel water tank. Something that's really nice about over-the-wheel well water tanks is that, you know, they're really great for space saving, and you don't really compromise on the amount of gallons of water you can bring with you. 20 gallons is pretty average for the industry as far as taking water with you. It's a good balance between capacity and weight. The nice thing about the over-the-wheel well tanks is, I mean, it's just in the name. It actually has a cut-out area that's going to fit most vans' wheel well size. In some vans, including this one, you can actually repurpose a little bit of storage under there if you don't fully insulate underneath the water tank. So we have a 20-gallon tank over the wheel well. This tank has a couple of ports on it. At the very bottom is going to be your intake for your water pump. There are two overflow vents on the right-hand side, a breather vent up top, and then one more vent, one more opening in the back, and that's how you're going to actually fill the tank up. So the tank fill in the rear section of this tank, where we're going to have our shower kit and the faucet, we're going to do that in a separate video. That separate video is going to talk to you about the special connections that you're going to make for the water faucet, and then the special connections that you're going to need to make for like a shower washdown hose. Those are pretty specific. They're a little bit different than the rest of the plumbing that we're doing in here. As we make our way to the right, we got a bunch of components in a very tight space, and took a lot of planning and kind of back and forth to get all of this in here, because this van, we really don't have a lot of storage options in the way that we have this configured. So we try to take up, we try to put in storage wherever we can. Rev-A-Shelf is an awesome company. They make really high-end kind of DIY cabinet components. For example, this one is their 5.5-inch pull-out soft close storage slider. And this is typically developed, well, it's mainly designed for homes that have cabinets already built-in cabinets in the home. And so what they do is they size it specifically for the built-in cabinets. So you have to do a little bit of reverse engineering to find out how it's actually going to fit in your van. The nice thing is they do provide all the engineering drawings online, so you can simply download it and then just double check your measurements to make sure that this is going to fit. What I like about it is it's already pre-finished. It comes with all the shelves, all the adjustments. This one actually has 3 stainless steel cans, and you can put in, you know, spatulas, forks, knives, spoons, stuff like that. And then you can put some canned goods, or really whatever you think you can put in here. Now with that said, we had to do a lot of custom routing with all the plumbing. So we'll show you that in just a second. I'm actually going to take a GoPro camera and follow all the lines and show you exactly where they are, how they connect to the water tank, the water pump, and the water heater, as well as why I decided to locate them where they are. So this is a Rev-A-Shelf. Next component we have is the LK sink. This is like a composite, like a granite composite really resilient. The customer was looking for a black sink, and I think this is a perfect size, really the only size that we could get in here. You'll see here in just a second. We got that draining into a food-safe gray water tank from Panther RV. What's really nice about this one, it doesn't have to be food-safe since it's, gray water, but what's nice about that is it has this top section that's really easy to clean out. Again, I'll show you that in a second. And then moving on back, we have the A.O. Smith 2.5 gallon hot water heater. It is a 120 volt hot water heater, so you do need an inverter for that. We'll explain that. And then we have our water pump, kind of the heart of the whole system. We went with a C-Flow. Has a maximum 55 psi output. It's throttled down a little bit, not hitting that peak, but it is adjustable inside. You can take it apart and turn that down. What's nice about this pump is it's able to self-prime, and self-prime at a pipe length of 6 feet. So what's really nice is we needed that in order to make all of our runs and turns up to the water pump just because of our tight space. So kind of keep that in mind. Make sure you're looking to find out how long of a distance away from your source of your water can the pump actually prime itself. And last but not least, this is not part of the water system, but this is what has made it a challenge, is we have relocated the rear AC of this van to underneath the sink. So that was really our foundation for building everything around. We had to cut and make all the connection points to mount the AC unit, as well as the drain port where the electrical connections are, and then we had to customize the vents, so the way that it vents out. So we have a 4-inch vent down here, we'll have a 4-inch vent up here. And once that was in place, then we could actually start building our platform to hold our water heater and then sizing everything up appropriately. So let's go ahead and get out the GoPro camera, and we'll cut to that, and we'll go through this whole entire section of the kitchen. And then about halfway through the GoPro, we're going to break into the tools that you need to actually make the connections, and then we'll come back and end it with talking a little bit more about this water system. All right, so we got our GoPro here. We got the media mod and the max lens, so we can get biggest field of view possible. So see if we can do this. So we're gonna move all this stuff out of the way here. And let's start with this. So here is this is from Rev-A-Shelf. You can actually get this off of Amazon. It is fairly expensive, anywhere from $250 to $300 for this unit. The build quality is superb, and what's nice is, especially if you're a DIYer, you're just bolting in this base right here, and then once you bolt the base in, you can easily, there's these two snaps under here, and then you just enable, or so if let's see here if I can do this. So we take it, and all you do is just click it, and this whole thing slides off. So it's really, really nice. And then what you're left with is this sliding. Now this whole thing can come out. It's only held in by one bolt in the back on an 80/20 rail, and then two bolts right here. And then I did have to oversized drill these holes so it would fit. But that goes right here. The next component that we're going to take out is, let's see here, let me back up. There's so many components in here, as you guys can see, that it's going to be interesting to go step by step in here. All right, let's start with, I'm trying to do this in order for you so you understand. So the first thing we'll get out of our way, let's start with the gray water tank, and then we'll move up to the sink. Before we do that, I'll show you how everything is fitting in here. As you can see, we have our sink, and we actually have it opposite. Usually the drain is more towards the faucet, so you guys can see in this view. It's usually more towards the faucet. However, this one is not. And we're gonna get some more light. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're back. So we have our sink, and this sink is a LK sink. You can actually buy this off of Amazon as well. And it is about almost 8 inches deep. We got a usable area of about 13 inches by 13 inches, so pretty good sink for this space. As you can see, space is tight. We have our cabinet over here that really this is the only sink, only cabinet. This is the only way this is all going to work. So starting with the sink, we're going to come down to the gray water tank. So with our gray water tank, we wanted it to easily be accessible for Thomas to take in and out, because we're not doing an undermount tank on this van. So it's not installed now, but we're going to have a quick disconnect right here, so that all he has to do is click one button, and this hose from the gray water tank will pop off. But it also has a check valve built in, so that when he takes this tank out to be drained, that the water doesn't come out of the line and pour all over into here. It keeps whatever water's in the line in there until you reconnect it, and then it reopens the check valve. The gray water tank that he's using, that we've set up for him, is a 7-gallon. This is a food safe container. This, which is not important for gray water, but if you guys were wondering. This is from Panther RV, and this is also pretty expensive. It's around $300. The reason I like it so much is because you're not going to find a gray tank with a built-in clean out like this, to where you can get in and scrub, make sure this is nice, clean, and sanitized. Keep those smells down. Plus, it has an integrated brass connection, very strong. Same threads as if you want to put like a water hose or something like that, that type of hose connection. I think it's 3/4 right there. And then it also comes with a handle. And so you get this in the kit. So it comes with that, the lid, and then it also comes with this black hose. Excellent system. Now this black hose is connected to this drain adapter. So this is an RV drain adapter. What's nice about this RV drain adapter is that this is what allows you, I'm going to pull this hose off. This drain adapter right here allows you to connect to a household sink. So Campco makes this. It allows you to connect that hose to a household sink thread. It makes it really, really easy. So all you do is you'll put some thread sealant on there. Make sure you get food safe thread sealant. Very, very important. Actually, let me show you some. So this is the product I use. Slow Dry 5 Soft Set by Rector Seal pipe thread sealant. And again, there's that NSF rating, food safe, lead free, all that good stuff. Very important when you're doing this. Now, again, you don't have to be that safe on the gray system, but if you're building DIY, you can use that for everything, and then you never have to worry if you've made a full food safe seal that's safe for you. So just do it to all of it. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so we have our sink, and For sink design, as you guys can see, we've had to, like I just said, drain's usually here, we've moved it to here, which doesn't change anything. The next thing that we're going to look at is its interaction with the hot water tank. And as you can see, our clearances are extremely tight, right there. Now this sink will be raised 1.5 inches for the butcher block thickness. So we will have that 1.5 inch clearance. Alright, next, let's put you over here. Let's take this sink out. Set it over here. I'm going to go to the next portion of this build. Let's see how we're doing on the cameras. Pick this back up. Okay, so we're over here at the kitchen. We've just taken the sink out, and we're going to go top to bottom to kind of show you what's going on. So in here we have our hot water heater. This is a 2.5 gallon hot water heater from A.O. Smith. Got it from Lowe's. So as an on-the-shelf item, in case in the future something happens, this can be replaced. It has these fittings up here, and we're using PEX A. So PEX A allows you can undo this with a wrench without taking the fitting off. You can undo this with a wrench and it'll spin within the pipe if you needed to change this out. Down here, this is a 120 volt hot water heater, so it does use the inverter to be able to power this. So these hot water heaters are not 12 volt. They are, domestic household hot water heaters. They're more designed for point of use, the 2.5 gallons, but they're perfect in the van because, when you're driving down the road, you're getting ready to go to your campsite or travel, you can turn this on a timer, say 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and while your engine is running, charging your batteries, you can get this hot water nice and hot. And since you're charging your batteries and powering this, when you get to the campsite, typically you have not drained your batteries all the way down to where you can enjoy it. You should be able to top off both your batteries and run this while you're driving down the road before you get to your campsite or destination. Hot water heater. All right, over to our left, we have the C-Flow 12 volt water pump. This will go up to 55 PSI max, and you can actually, there's an adjustment here. I think it goes from anywhere from 6 to 55, something like that. You can actually throttle the pressure, but we're going to leave it as factory, as it has been delivered. We have our strainer, straining fine particulate before it gets in there. It's not a water filter. It is just, if anything accidentally gets past the filter you're using to fill your freshwater tank, this will catch it before it damages the water pump. And it's conveniently underneath here so that when you open the door, you can come in, unscrew this, clean it out, screw it back on. See, it's actually onto right now. Super easy. Now this has an O-ring. Anything that has an O-ring, don't overly crank down on it. Just get it kind of hand tight. Same goes for here and the back right here. We're going to go through the piping detail in just a minute, so hold on. Okay, the nice thing about this pump is this is a self-priming pump with a maximum pipe, self-priming pipe length of 6 feet. What that means is this thing will self-prime itself 6 feet of pipe with no water in it. So the calculation here has been, we have 5 feet of pipe coming into this pump. Now, we wanted to make it less, but obviously this is all taken up by that pull-out cabinet. So we had to be really picky on how we actually plumbed everything. And then the big thing, this is the big thing. This is what made this whole build really interesting. So Thomas's van is a 2020 mid-roof passenger van, because it actually has all the glass in there, but it's a passenger slash cargo. So came with the passenger windows, came with the rear AC unit, less the interior, which is in my mind perfect. Now that AC was mounted at the rear, so Thomas wanted to relocate it. Actually, he had to relocate it because there is a ramp in the back, and there's no room for it, so it had to be removed to put the ramp in the back. So we had to relocate it. So we relocated it. We got all the ports underneath the van for the AC specialist to go in, put some new hydraulic crimps on those high pressure, low pressure refrigerant lines, do all their stuff. I just wanted to show you how we did this. Keep in mind, we have all these fixed measurements. We have the bed, that's 48 inches. We have the cabinet. We have the water pump, the AC duct. We have the heater and the fridge, and enough space to swivel around the driver's chair. So all this had to be calculated out to make sure that it was going to work. So the first thing that kind of had to anchor, everything had to be built around, was the AC unit. Now why? Because in a Ford Transit you have all this bracing, cross bracing. It is a unibody chassis, so there's no frame. All the structure is within the floor. So there's all these different components that provide structure to the van, and you simply just can't put this AC unit wherever you want to. It has to be put in pretty much a place that says, hey, this is the only place I fit. That is where this is. This is the only place that it would fit as far back as possible. So now that that became our foundation, now we can start to build around it. Let's see if I can put some B-roll in here. I designed a custom little vent. So that usually had like a plastic vent, so I had to redo that. And then I created these ducts. These are 4-inch ducts. They're insulated, flexible ducts. They're actually for grow rooms, which is nice, like for growing plants and stuff like that. And what's nice about that is it's good for humid environments. Now the van, you don't want to be humid. However, when the AC unit is running, if it is warm, moist inside the van, that air is going to condense, and then it's going to condense on this cold duct when it gets in AC mode, and it can sweat. So what you want to make sure is that it's insulated enough to where it's not going to sweat on the outside, and then it can actually dry itself on the inside. You got to think about that. And then also when it gets hot, let's go ahead and take this apart. So before I take it apart, that is the lower vent. There's another one that's going to be all the way up there, blowing hot and cold air throughout the van. So that's how he is heating and cooling the back of this van. He also does have max fan vents. Okay, let's go ahead and take this off, and you'll see that we have the foil lining on the inside of this. And what we're going to do, let's go ahead and take this out. Now keep in mind, we had to keep this shelf high enough so that this could pass under, but low enough to where we could actually get a lever to unlock and pull the cabinet open. So all that stuff has to be considered. All right, let's put this in here. And again, this is just temporary. So I'm going to see if I can move this more out of our way. Let me give you a look. I'll give you a look here. So we got some wiring that we got to put together, and we're just gonna let that sit right there for right now. Here's the control wires to the AC unit. Okay, let's start with our water system. So what I was talking about earlier is if we go all the way underneath here, we got a couple of things. We've got our, and the furthest point, that is our water inlet. That is bringing our water into the van. This T is taking it and going up to the water pump. So this is the way the water is pulling. This run right here allows us to come over to a shut-off valve, and it's in the off position right now. And this goes to a pipe that goes down through the bottom of the van to drain the tank. So when Thomas is ready to go to, he's heading back home, he's done with his trip, his adventure, he's going to take the valve and he's going to turn it, and then this is going to drain all the water out of the tank. And then once it's drained, he can, you know, if it's the winter time, he can go and put in some antifreeze, RV antifreeze, and then he can use this, flush it through the lines, cut it off, and let that sit in there over the winter time. And then when he's ready, he can just drain the tank again, flush it, and then shut it off. So it's really convenient. Doors here, he can open, drain, close. Right here is the strainer, open, drain, clean, boom. It's all right here. Okay, the next path, as you guys can see, we have the T coming, you saw it come down here and you're saying, what is this? Where does this go? So that is the overflow. So right here is the overflow from the water tank. It comes down through this T. I'll explain this red piece in just a minute. It comes down through this T. So when you fill the tank up, if you're outside and you can't see where the water level is, what I've designed is a way that the water comes up and then it'll start to flow through here. This pipe is always open to the ground, down through here, so it bypasses this valve and goes straight to the ground. That way, when you're filling the tank up, when you start to hear water hit the ground, you can shut it off, shut the water off, you know your tank's full. Now, this red line. Why is a red line going into a T? What's going on here? So, what a lot of DIYers forget is that when you use this a hot water tank, especially a domestic hot water tank, residential, whatever you want to call it, this valve right here, this is a pressure relief valve. So this is a safety valve. So what happens is the heating element inside, if it fails, runs away is another term for it, and it can't control itself, and it starts, you know, boiling that water and just superheating that water. The superheated water turns to steam, gets super high pressure in here. Instead of this exploding, hot water heaters have this integrated valve. Now, most homes, you'll just see this with it's open on one side. They don't actually drain it anywhere because it is extremely rare that this will ever be used in the life of this. The element will usually fail before the tank overpressurizes, but this is a safety feature. But in a van is not the same as a garage or a basement where this can just kind of blow out in your basement or garage or whatever. You're in a van. So if this fails, then hot water is going to go all over here, all through your insulation, all over the floor. So you need to you need to make a way for that water to relieve. So we have I have this pipe go all the way from here down to, it has 2 exit paths, so it takes the path of the least resistance. It's going to go maybe a little bit in the tank and then all the way outside, so it can really exhaust itself, and it'll be contained, whereas if that wasn't connected, you would have a big problem on your hands. A little bit added security is this inline check valve. So this is a SharkBite inline check valve. This valve will operate anything above 2 psi. So when your tank goes, it will be way higher than that. But what this check valve does is, when you're filling your tank up, you don't want that water to go up this line and into here. Now it can't enter the tank because this is a safety relief valve. It's always closed, so water wouldn't be in here, but you don't want water sitting in that line. So what that check valve does is it doesn't allow, when you fill your tank up and it hits the overflow, the water will only go here. That water can't go up here because of that check valve. The pressure won't let it go in. So it'll only let the water go out of the hot water heater. It won't let water go into the hot water heater. Remember, this is a safety valve. It has nothing to do with this hot water outlet or cold water inlet right here. This is your cold and your hot. This is just a safety valve. So let's talk about the hot water heater real quick, since we're right here. Actually, pause on that. Let's go to the water pump. So we've explained how the water is taken from the tank and it is routed here. It can be drained. We've talked about how the water can be filled up, overflow, and go straight to the ground. And then we've already talked about what that red line is, the emergency relief or the pressure relief valve coming from the hot water tank and going to the ground. That's all good. All right, next, how do we get the water from the tank into all of these devices and components? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the give me one second here. All right, so this next part we're going to talk about the water pump. So what we're going to do is explain how this water pump takes water from the tank. All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about the water pump. We'll explain how it works and how it gets water from this water tank. So down here, we have the pipe that was coming out for the drain line, but then we have this T right here. So this T is going to bring the water, or allow the pump to suck the water from the bottom of the water tank. It's going to take it and go up that back line right here, all the way up. And because of our sliding cabinet here, you see we have to have an L shape coming around, up and around. Typically, for water coming to the pump, you want the straightest path possible. Typically, water coming from the bottom of the tank up to the pump, you want the straightest path possible. So right here, we're going up, over, and down. But with our situation, this is the best way to get the water to the water pump. Now, the one thing I talked about earlier that you want to make sure that you do right is you want to make sure that this is a self-priming pump. Self-priming means it is allowed to pump a certain amount of air through the pump until it actually picks up the water and creates the suction. So you want to make sure that you have a pump that can do that. Two, you want to know what is the maximum length of the pipe before this inlet of the pump that you can have before that self-priming action does not work. That's just a technical way of saying make sure the water line is not too long so that when... That's a technical way of saying make sure the water line's not too long to where the pump never gets to prime itself. So this pump, we're okay. 6 feet is the maximum that it will self-prime. Our line is just a shy under 5 feet, so we're good. Got about a foot of play on that. But we're already plumbed in, so we don't got to worry about that. So over here, we're coming from the tank, over, down, and into our strainer. Strainer is very important, especially when you start up the pump for the first time. If you haven't cleaned out all these lines or you haven't blown them out with compressed air, whatever little filings or stuff will be caught in this little fine mesh filter here. So this is your strainer. There's a little part number for you. It'll be caught in the strainer, and that way it doesn't damage the pump. Now we get to the fun part. We have our 12-volt pump. Now where does the water go? Well, we've got a couple places, and you need to pre-plan where you're going to go. In this build, we have 3 locations. We have this port, which is going to go over here across the water tank and back here to our little platform where we're going to have a washdown shower, a control valve, and an inlet for filling water into the tank. This is just temporary. This whole thing will be in a separate video. So that's why this one's not connected yet, because we got to do a little bit more technical stuff. For example, we installed, I installed these 2 holders to make sure everything in here does not move around, does not rattle, flop around. That's another thing you want to do. So everywhere in this van, you'll see everything is always put with a clamp, and these are special plastic PEX holders. So they hold it firm, but they don't allow it to damage the PEX in any way. You would not want to use metal on this because the vibration of the van could cut through it. You always want to use plastic, and if you can, the plastic that is designed for this type of PEX. Okay, so we have our outlet to a T. We're going down. This goes to the washdown / shower, outdoor shower wand thing we got in the back. We go up, and this next part is going over here. And then what we will have is we will, depending on where our sink faucet is, we will find out where we want to place a T in here for the sink. It is possible that we plumb it coming down through here, but we got 2 options. So this got installed when we did a how to install PEX video. And so you see, I did not leave a T for supplying the water to the sink. So the nice thing about PEX is it's so easy. We're just gonna snip this. We're gonna put our T in, and then we will have our pipe going to the sink faucet. So I'm gonna go ahead, and this next video is gonna show you step by step how to install these 2 pieces of PEX right here, this piece and this piece. So I'm gonna cut to that, and once that's finished, we're gonna come back right here and we're gonna keep going with this video. Okay, let's talk about this. So we just talked about how it's very tight, but we are using a product which is PEX A, or Uponor PEX, and it's incredible. I love using it so much. It makes tight places like this in very technical areas very, very easy to work with. There's a special tool that I'll talk about in a section as far as there's a special tool, and then there's some fittings that I'll talk about in just a second, so I'll move them over here. But with PEX A specifically, it is very easy to work in tight places where you got to make complicated runs. It looks complex, but it really isn't. If you're willing to take the time and do precise measurements, anybody can do this. What I find is the barrier to entry, and it's just my opinion, but I think it's the tool that you need to do this. So this is about a $400 tool, and you need it to expand the PEX. So the way PEX A works, or Uponor PEX, is you have your tube. This is your water tube. It is slightly flexible, but it is extremely rigid. But it does have some flex. So over a distance, for example, I have my water intake line, and it's the only pipe in here that's actually kind of curved. And it's the only way that I could do it, which is okay. As long as the joints are not binding, you can have a curve going into a joint. So you have the pipe. Red and blue are the same thing, they're just color coded differently. Then you have a compression sleeve, and you're going to take the compression sleeve and pop it over the top. And it has these tabs right here, so you are not able to push this compression sleeve all the way over it. And it has a nice has a little stop. The next thing you do is you take your expansion gun. Now Milwaukee makes one, DeWalt also makes one, but I found Milwaukee typically in stock, and it's also sometimes slightly cheaper. Plus I had some batteries. What you're going to do is when this closes fully, you're going to take your pipe and your fitting, slide it on, and then you're going to put it on here. And then I'm not going to waste this because I need it. But you're going to put this on here, and you're going to expand it, and this will move closer and closer. And you want this to open about 6 to 10 times. And then once you do that, you want to quickly take your expanded sleeve and slip it on your fitting, and then just hold it for, I don't know, about 10 seconds. And then you can let go. And that sleeve is going to compress down and make an amazing seal. I've tried to cut these off and reuse these fittings when I made an error, and it's almost impossible to get this off. You have to use a heat gun, pliers, razor. The crimp or compression fit that this makes is amazing. It is very, 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 very strong. So what I'm going to show you in this video is I'm going to make a connection, and I'm going to show you how to measure and make the connection. We need to move from we need to make a connection from our water pump up. We need to do a 90-degree fitting, and then move all the way down here to this 90-degree fitting. So we're going to need to measure the height for one portion of the tube, and then we're going to have to measure the distance from that flange right here to this flange and come over. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing we have to do is find out where this is intersecting with this over here. And we're always measuring from this flange right here. So not here, but this flange. So I'm gonna take this tape measure, and I'm gonna look directly down at my pipe that I'm coming from, and I'm gonna measure from the outside of the pipe to this flange right here. And so when I do that, it looks like I got 12.5 inches. I got 12.5 inches. So I'm gonna go cut my tube 12.5 inches, and then I'll be right back. All right, we're back. We've cut our piece of pipe 12.5 inches. We're gonna need a couple of things. We're gonna need 2 compression fittings, and then this back side, we're actually going to need 3 compression fittings. I'll grab one more. So we need a compression fitting for the bottom, the top, all right, we've cut our piece 12.5 inches, and this is going to get us from here to this bottom location. Make sure that's in the camera. Right. Yep, right there, that bottom location. So from there to there, we're going to need 2 compression fittings for this line right here. And then we're going to need, right here, we're going to need a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch elbow. And it's very important to make sure it's PEX A. Generally, when you go into Lowe's or Home Depot, you're going to see a lot of PEX B, and that is the crimp style, not the compression sleeve. So the crimp style uses a metal band to crimp down on the tube. Both the tube and the crimp fitting are completely different. It's a different hose material, and it's a different fitting. So don't get those confused because they are not compatible. When you take this out of the bag, there's these plastic caps, and you want to remove them. Be very careful. You don't want to drop this on the ground or scratch it with pliers or anything. You shouldn't be using pliers for any of this install, because this middle section right here that's really sharp, that is what actually creates the main seal. So once we have our tube, we're going to use our expander and expand it for this side, slip it on. But now when you decide to make your PEX connections, you need to work in a way that's easier for you to put the pipe in. So I'm actually going to leave this one to be the expanded last, so we can just take that off. And what I'm going to work on first is I'm going to work on actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this aside, and I'm actually going to work on this back tube. I need to make sure that this back tube I got to find the height of this back tube, because what we're doing is the elbow fitting, we're not going down here, we're actually going to come up. We're actually going to come up slightly to right here, and we want to do that because we don't want to connect here to here and bend the tube. We want to have the mildest angle possible. So we're going to put this here so it's not interfering with any of these pieces. We're going to find out what our height is. So we're going to go down and measure from the flange, and then we'll put our fitting up here in the air, and we will see where this lands. And really this is the hardest part of the whole thing. It's just getting this measurement here. So it's looking like 4.5 inches. We're actually going to do 4 inches because we don't want to interfere with this hot water pipe. So 4 inches. So we're going to go ahead and cut a piece 4 inches. So our test piece, actually we can cut this. And this will be a good way for me to show you guys how to cut this tubing. So we're going to take it, we're going to go to 4 inches. So we can do this with 2 hands. There's a special pair of cutters. Do not cut this with anything other than these special cutters. This is made by Shark Bite Company. There's another one made by Milwaukee. I think the manufacturer of both of them is exactly the same, but you need to use this specific PEX pipe cutter. If you don't, and you cut this at an angle, you cannot guarantee that your seal is going to be good. So what I do is just kind of rest the blade on here, and then I move my tape out of the way, and then that blade kind of holds it. And it's important that you, before you cut it, that you get this nice and perpendicular, and then go ahead and just squeeze down, and it makes a super clean, very sharp cut. Okay, so the reason I did that again is I need to get my height up here so that this pipe, when I connect the two with the elbow right here, this intersection is very, very good. Now, notice how this pipe is on a coil. It has like a natural bend. So what I want to do is I actually want to keep that natural bend so that when I put this pipe down here and connect it, it's actually bending down to the other fitting, and it's not putting stress on the piece of pipe and the fitting itself. It's a little OCD technical thing, but it will make a difference, trust me. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to work backwards. We're actually going to fit the compression fitting to the bottom. We're going to use a compression fitting here, and we're going to attach it after we use our gun, our expanding tool, to the bottom. Then we're going to work our way up. Actually, hold on. We're first going to put our elbow on the top. Okay, we're going to do our elbow on the top, and we're going to finish that. Then we're going to take our bottom piece and we're going to expand it and put it down. So that way now we're done. We got the bottom tight, we got this middle tight, and now we're ready for this top. Then we can take our top piece, expand it, and then put it, slip it on here, and then finally we'll end with backing this up, expanding it, and putting it on here, and then we'll be complete. So just when you're doing this, think about what step you're going to get into, because remember, you got to use the expanding tool for each joint. It makes it very easy. However, the reason we're planning is if you expand it and then all of a sudden you don't know where you're going, this thing is, as soon as the expanding tool is done, it's already trying to compress the fitting. So you only have about 2 to 3 seconds before it compresses down to where you can't put it back on and you need to re-expand it. You don't want to be caught in the middle of an expansion and contraction and miss the timing and then get it halfway on, not sealed, and then have to recut all this out. That is probably the scary part. If you expand this the correct number of times, so 6 to 10 times, you give yourself about 2 to 3 seconds to pop it on, you're going to be okay. So that's why we're doing this first, and then we're following it up by this one. So just think about where you're going. And it may sound silly, but practice how you're going to put the tube in as if it's been crimped. So you practice so you're not running into pipes and stuff like that and then losing the 2 to 3 seconds you have for this thing to compress. So you're expanding it, 1, 2, hold it, done. Hope that makes sense. So let's go ahead and get this piece created. First step, so we're going to put our compression or expansion sleeve on. So now you get to see how this works. Make sure this is in the camera. Okay. So now watch this. Now I'm going to plan how I'm doing this, right? So I need to, when I'm done, I need a place to set my gun, and I need a place to grab my fitting. So I'm going to put my fitting on the table right here so that when I'm done, when this does move, I can put this down. 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds, I'm in. So let's watch this in real time. Oh, by the way, when I told you 6 to 10 expansions, I've just found that whatever bag of these that you get, some are loose and then some are tight. They all make a great seal. However, depending on the ambient temperature of your room, whether it's cold or hot, is going to change how many times you need to expand it with the gun to get a nice clean install. So as you notice right now, there's no way that this is going in. So watch how this works. So you take this, all right, put the compression sleeve all the way in till it stops. Also, it has these little tabs, so it won't allow you to put it all the way through, and it also won't allow you to put it in backwards. It'll only let you put it in one way. So you put it in here, don't force it, just lay it on there easy. These little knurls here are going to pull it onto the shaft itself. So here we go, I'm just lightly holding this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put it 8. See, it slipped in there really easy. So that's how quick you need to do it. Because watch, see, it's already compressing that quick. That's why you have to do it that fast. It's already done. The joint is finished. See how fast that is? That's why it's really easy to do this. However, if you take your time, measure, count your expansions, and practice putting the pipe in its location, you're gonna be fine. All right, so next step, let's go ahead and do this bottom piece. Now this is when we need to practice. So let's take this fitting, let's put it on here, or let's act like we have the fitting on here. Okay, got our fitting, we got our gun, we have a place to put our gun so it's not just falling on the floor when we get excited. And I'm expanded, so 1, 2, boom. So I know the path. I'm coming through here and I'm putting it down and it's gonna seat. I'm not, fumbling around here and moving over here and losing time. I've got it, 1, 2, 3, and it's in place. So 2 to 3 seconds. Just don't stress out about it. It's just the way it is. You gotta pre-plan where you're gonna put this. So there's an expansion sleeve. Let's go ahead and do this. That one felt really good at about 8, doing it about 8 times. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I did 10 just for some insurance. And that's good I did, because I'm talking on the camera, so I'm not completely focused. 10 times is good if you feel like it's going to take you longer than 3 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. So 10 will probably get you on the edge of maybe 3 or 4, but it is very quick. See, it's done. That's it. All right, so we got this down. Push, make sure it goes all the way down. Don't let it get halfway and then close, or you're SOL. And I really mean that. As easy as this is, that is where you can mess up, is if you don't get it seated properly and it crimps down, because you're either going to have to, if you made a joint that's really tight like this, you're literally going to have to take, you'll have to take the whole thing apart. Okay, since I'm teaching you guys here, let me show you the worst case scenario. Say I messed that up. Well, luckily, I installed a almost like a water hose fitting down here in the bottom of the water pump, so I can actually untwist this. The reason I made this is so that if I needed to remove the water pump, I can unbolt this just like a water hose. And since the PEX is flexible, I mean, it's rigid because I have it has a hose connector there, but it's flexible to where I can kick this out of the way and I can replace my water pump and then bolt it back, screw it back on. So let's look at this fitting. So this is the beauty of PEX. It's very neat. It's kind of the whole Steve Jobs thing about, the inside of the computer is as neat as the outside. So that's kind of how I work. I make sure that if this whole butcher block was taken off, everything in here looks really, really nice, very professional. There's no way that any of this stuff is going to rattle. Like if Thomas is going off-road and going crazy, nothing in here is going to rattle. It's going to be safe. And with PEX, you can get this just really, really, really nice professional result. Here is that fitting I was talking about. So I personally, the plastic fittings are okay, but I personally don't like them using them in the van. I just, I want everything to be as bulletproof as possible. So if it's within the budget and you can do it, the brass fittings are more expensive, about $1 or $2 or $3 more expensive, but it's worth it. I mean, this is here forever. You don't have to worry about anything breaking. It's extremely strong. So that's why I do it. All right, so here we go. We got this fitting. But let's say worst case scenario. This is exactly what we just did. We just put this together. Let's say I screwed this up and I didn't push it all the way down. Unfortunately, because these distances are so short, and by the way, this is the shortest run that you can make of a fitting. So the shortest run you can make is about 2.5 inches. But say we messed up. Unfortunately, anything this small, we're not going to be able to cut it and put a union in it to mend our problem and redo it. We'd have to remake this whole entire piece. So if we had to remake this piece, this would be anywhere from probably $20 to remake this. So it gets expensive if you're making a mistake, because these fittings are anywhere from $3 to $4. And then same as with this, and then the bag of compression fittings, so maybe like $20 or something like that. So you're like, man, that's $20. But remember, you don't want a water leak in your van. And because if you do forget to turn your water pump off, you're going to make sure that you want to know that these things can hold pressure and you're not having to babysit them. Especially something like this where it's complicated, where the sink's going to be here, this cabinet drawer is going to be here, and it's you can't see behind here. All right, so back to what we're doing. So actually, since we have this off, let's make it easier on ourselves, and let's keep this disconnected, and let's go ahead and connect this top piece. Now remember, see how we have this natural bend? So we're going to want to have that natural bend go like that. Okay? Just like that. Let's see, let's go ahead and get our compression fitting on. Not there. There we go. So for here, I'm going to place my part right here. So when I'm done compressing this, I can just set it down, take my piece, and quickly pop it in here. Let's do this. We're going to do 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. You're just going to hold it. And don't get confused. I could have put it here accidentally. Because this one's a little bit bigger and this one's a little bit shorter. I tell you guys not to mess up, but I just had to double check myself. It's okay. Everybody's not perfect. All right, so that's going to go in here just like this. And then now we get that pre-bend, and the reason we want to do that is we're going to come up like that. And then now so we still get that taper going down. So you don't put a lot of pressure on here, but like if you have to rise up like that much, you're gonna be okay. So that's exactly what we have to do. So now we'll take our part and we're gonna kind of feed it in here. And we're actually not gonna connect this on here, and I'll show you why. See how we have it free right here? And that way I can just put it on, and then we'll connect that later. So if you have connections like this that come apart, use that to your advantage in the moment. So here we go. We got our pipe, looking good. So let's go ahead and take this, and we'll do our final sleeve here, and then we'll pop it on here. And just always quick check on this, make sure looks good. And we'll do just 10 times as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And right after that click, make sure you pop it on. Now it's not hard to put it on here. I just do it that way so I make sure that I'm getting a good seat. I'm not lazy about it. You only get one shot. That's it. Obviously you can practice on something else before you start doing it where it counts. But really, at the end of the day, it's just pieces of plastic. If you mess up, just unscrew it or cut it off and just redo it again. Might cost you a couple bucks, but it's just plastic. A van's just metal, so this is just metal. So don't get too stressed out if you don't do it perfect. All right, and there we go. It's done. So let's go ahead and take this. Let's move this back in, and let's go ahead and screw this on. Okay, we got good. We just want to double check our clearances. And I'm already pre-planning the next route, and so that's it, guys. Hope this helped you with installing PEX A or Uponor PEX. All right, so you just learned how to install PEX. And because I was teaching you guys in this video, like I just said, I didn't leave a spot for me to tap into for the faucet, but PEX is very easy to work with. So all I have to do is take this, insert a T, and boom, I have my line for my cold water side of my faucet. So let's continue. We're filling our water. This water, like I said, is supplying the rear shower. It's going to come up. We'll have a T come out that's going to supply the water faucet for the sink, and it's going to come down and fill up our hot water tank. Once the hot water tank is filled, it'll be hot, and the water coming out of the tank is going to be hot. This hot water that comes out is going to go into two places. It's going to go up here and join right along this pipe, which is going to supply our faucet right here for the sink. So you'll have hot and cold. And then it's going to have its own T come down, follow that line, and it's right beside there. It's going to share that path that I was just showing you. So right here, you see these two fittings? So one line is going to be hot coming out, and one line is going to be cold coming out. They're going to join a third line, which is this. This is the vent port I was telling you about. So we're going to put a brass fitting in here, PEX A, and then we're going to go up and all the way out. And that vent line is going to come all the way over here to vent the tank. That way, it's all hidden under the Murphy bed, and it will not disrupt the sleeping platform that we put on it. It's nice and low profile, And we designed that gap ahead of time. That's something you cannot design in later. It will not work. All right, that's our water pump. That's how it's supplying everything, going all the way over and out the back. The back will be in a separate video. But let's get one more last look at this. There you guys go. You can see our water system. All right, guys, that was a pretty in-depth review of, or overview of how this whole entire water system works on this van. If you have any questions on how to actually put this together, more questions on how to do the PEX A or Uponor fitting connections, the tools involved, put those questions in the comments below, and I will be happy to make a future video containing that information. Also, anything about like the water pump or the selection of the hot water heater, there's many different options. There's different water pumps, there's different water heaters. It's really, you know, what you're comfortable buying and installing. This video didn't cover any of the electronics because that's going to be in a separate video. But you will need 12 volt power for your water pump, 120 volts for a hot water heater like the one we put in this van. However, they do make 12 volt hot water heater, 12 versions of a hot water heater. They take much longer to heat up. They're not as fast, but they do make 12 volt options. Yeah, that's going to do it. Hope this video helped you guys out, helped you learn a little bit more about what it takes to put in a water system in a van and how it works. And I will see you guys in the next video.